Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode. I'm going to switch things up a little bit, get off of the mechanical work, and do something that's cosmetic just for fun again. These fenders here, I'm going to be installing some vents, some like little louvered vents on the side of them. So we're going to get into that in today's episode, so stay tuned. So you guys have seen in some of the previous episodes that these inspection lids that go above the battery and the brake booster over there, they have those cuts. They're the louvered lids. I want to do the same thing with these fenders. So these vents are going to go right in here. Now I ordered these off of a company called Z-Tricks. I think they're based in Las Vegas, but I'm not entirely sure. This is one of the fiberglass pieces that they sell. So you basically bond this into here like so, and I suppose you could cut these out, these flat pieces in there, to make it more functional. I don't know if I'll bother doing that. I might just have it be purely cosmetic, but I'm gonna figure out where in here I want to get it placed, draw it out, and then start cutting. So I just finished marking out where that vent is probably going to end up. I want to make sure that I got this in the right spot. So I'm going to pull this off in this panel, the fender, and take it over to the other side. Look at them both together. Make sure it looks, pretty symmetrical, and that's looking pretty good. This one I got mocked up as well, so hopefully that's good. What I did is I measured from this bottom seam, and I went 3 inches up. Then I went 2.5 inches over from the edge of this fender. So let's get them side by side and make sure they're looking good. Then I'll start cutting. The holes are pretty close to being cut on these completely. You can see I just went in a little bit just to give myself room on that small little flange here for when I bond it. I kept going back and forth, measuring with the tape measure. You can probably see in the video. Trying to make sure they are as, symmetrical as possible. Obviously they're on completely different sides of the car, so you really would not be able to notice. But they're right as they sit now, they're probably within 1/4 of an inch of each other, which is pretty good. They're not all the way cut. You can see they don't fall in yet. So I'm gonna keep going back and forth and try and get that as close as possible before, they get bonded in, fiberglass and all that. But I think they're looking pretty good so far. All right, so here's my bad idea of the day. This panel bonding adhesive is in this tube like caulk thing because it mixes it when it goes into the tip. The guns that use just the two plungers or whatever, they cost about 50 bucks. These cost about $2. One side will fit in there no problem. The other side's too small. So I'm gonna take a cutoff wheel to this end here and trim it smaller. And I'm gonna put the two guns like this and use it like that. So this is basically sacrificing $2 instead of 50. So I got all of the paint ground down, all that primer off of the edges on both panels, and then I scuffed the underside of the fiberglass pieces so that everything will adhere nicely. I'm going to chemical wipe it all, get it all nice and clean. This is the method I'm going to be using to keep them in place. I've got a painting stir stick, and I'm going to put it diagonally from corner to corner. I'll move it up a bit. Clamp down on each side. That'll make it nice and flat, bond nicely. My caulk gun little idea thing here actually worked pretty well. Just modified the end to make it a little snugger there. Had to trim some of that back to make them fit up back end. And then that inside circular piece that goes in. So this should be good to go. I'm gonna double check everything, make sure I got it all cleaned, make sure everything's ready to rock. Then I'll start bonding these together. Alright, so I got them bonded down. These are running across where the fiberglass panel was lifted up on one of the corners. So this one was diagonal and this one was more that way, straight across horizontally. I'm going to come back later once these are all dried up and sand it down, clean it up, whatever, trimming and whatnot. I'm going to get fiber filler and fill in these edges all around, and then glazing putty, just like I did the hood, which is in there somewhere. So come back later and we'll keep working on them. So I got these all bonded together to the metal panels, and I started putting this fiber filler, kind of that glass infused Bondo basically. This is the same stuff that I used on the hood. So when I got this Corvette hood scoop bonded on there, I use the same fiber filler. Works pretty well. I like how it lays on. I'm going to sand this down and use the same glazing putty that I used before as well. I just had pretty good luck with it, and it turned out pretty well on that panel. So using all the same stuff. So I'm going to sand this down and get this one unclamped, do the same. Get these going. So all of the fiber filler is all completely done on these panels, as well as the glazing putty. They're ready to prime, at least this one is. This one needs another coat of glazing putty and a little bit more sanding. I've done 2 coats so far. This current one on here is drying, so it'll be done really soon. So I'm gonna get this one sprayed and get this one, just let it dry, and then get that one done afterwards. So I'll show you how this looks like when it's all sprayed. Okay, just got the panels pulled back into the garage. These edges blended pretty well. They're definitely not done, and you can definitely see a lot of mistakes, little imperfections in there. I'm gonna have to go back and let's see if you can see them. Maybe they're there for sure. I don't know how well. That's a good angle. So just little tiny holes in here and blending this out better. They don't look terrible. They actually turned out pretty well, honestly, but they are not done. This is gonna take another day of work at least to get these perfect. But with this hood, I'm gonna be spending that time anyway. Getting that perfect as well, because that's definitely not ready for paint yet. Side note, this all peeled off. I don't know what happened there. I used adhesion promoter and the paint just flaked right off. Doesn't matter. This is getting covered in like a thin layer of fiberglass, like sound mat that they have in modern OEM vehicles. I'm going to be putting that on just the inside of here, keep the noise down, and just, you know, keep it nice and quiet. And I don't want any heat transferring up into the paint and bubbling it on this side here. So should be fine. I think that's like 1/8 of an inch thick, so it'll fit well. But yeah, these panels are looking really, really good. So the last thing I want to film in this episode is getting these doors put back on. I've got the other one downstairs and the hinges are all here. These came with 2 options for mirrors. There was one bolted into the into the driver's side left-hand door right here, which is what I had, if you remember the first few episodes. Or they came with the fender mirrors, like the Japanese style, you know, mounted up front, up here. I don't like that style very much. I know a lot of people love it. Just the aesthetic, I don't like how it looks. I prefer them on the side. I think it looks much better. So unfortunately, my mirror was broken. The housing was cracked in it, and I only had the one side, and obviously I want to run both. So I was able to buy a new set of mirrors. I want to get these doors thrown on and get the holes drilled in for the mirror so that I can have those installed, and I think that'll do it for this episode. So I'm gonna go grab the other door and grab the mirrors and start working on that. Alright, so I was able to get both doors in with the help of my brother-in-law Zach and my dad. We got them just bolted in on the hinges. Obviously none of the latching or door handles are in, but that's good enough to see where the mirrors need to line up. I put both the seats in and checked where the mirrors need to end up. And from what we can figure, this is the best spot that we can get. I'm going to go ahead and get a little screw and just tap it with a hammer. I know they have specific tools for that, but I do not have one. But this will do. So that'll make it so my hole that I drill won't stray, and it'll go right where it needs to go. So I'm going to get those started, get them drilled in, and put the mirrors on, see how it looks. Okay, finished drilling the holes, got the mirrors mounted in. I think they're looking pretty dang good. I threw the body panels on here just for looks, just so you guys can get an idea before it gets all painted what it'll look like. It's not done, obviously. A lot of body work still needs to happen, but I think it's looking pretty dang good. Now if we go in, I can show you how the mirrors look. So from inside, this is the driver's side, left-hand side mirror. You can see it's looking pretty much straight down, practically perfect, right where you'd want to see it. This side is a little more problematic. These are the California style mirror kits they sell. They have different options for these. They're like gaskets, but they're spacers at the same time. They're flared different directions, so they have just the straight flat flush option, or if you need to tilt them a few different ways, they're fatter on one end and thinner on the other. This one's fatter on the backwards edge and thinner up front. This side I had to do the opposite, so the mirror would be closer. It can still be adjusted right now if I don't fall over. But it's off a bit, so I'm going to have to mess around with it some more. But it's mounted in the correct spot, so I'll check, see what other options I have with the gaskets, maybe messing around with them some more. But it's mounted and it's looking pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with these mirrors. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I got everything I wanted to get done with these for now until I work on the rest of the body work later down the road. And got the mirrors mounted, doors mounted, everything's looking pretty good. I got a couple other things done this episode that I didn't show. This brake caliper bracket needed to be ground down about, I don't know, maybe 0.1 millimeters. Very, very small amount. Did that off camera, got the wheel put in. Just a little last minute thing. I'm going to be tackling a little bit more of the front end, I think, in the next episode. Just getting some things finished up here and there. But made some good progress, and it's coming along pretty nicely.